Hey everyone, welcome to this fun and funny episode of Stable Minded Podcast. I'm your host Bob Griffin, and along with my co-host Gabby Greco, we'd like to thank you for tuning in. This podcast is brought to you in association with the Illinois American Saddlebred Pleasure Horse Association. Go to iaspha.com for more information. Before the red carpets, the runways, and the morning shows, Carson Kressley's life was filled with show horses and horse shows. Today we're sitting down with Carson as he shares how a lifelong love of horses shaped his beginnings, led him to work at Ralph Lauren, and continues to bring balance to his life. More than that, he talks about his mission to share the joy, discipline, and perspective the horse show world has given him, whether he's at the Rose Bowl parade, on a national talk show, or hanging out with friends back at the barn. A wicked sense of humor, a few strong opinions, and zero hesitation about sharing either. Here's Carson Kressley. I know a little bit about your start. I think we probably started around, I think you're a little younger than me, but I think we kind of got started in riding around the same time. So can you tell me how you got started riding?
See, there goes my alarm. It's time to start the podcast. That's how I keep my day organized. See how tech savvy I am?
It's all good.
So yeah, I am, we probably are the same age. I'm 56. I know I look so young. But I started riding. Here's the deal. I grew up, my grandparents had a Hackney and Shetland pony farm in Pennsylvania, and probably of the ilk of like a big, like Terry McKenzie or a Taylor pony farm. And my grandmother, I forget, she was probably born around 1920. She always wanted a pony, but she grew up on like a working farm in Pennsylvania. Like, we are not Amish, but we're like Amish adjacent. We are Pennsylvania Dutch and just farmer stock, Amish, Mennonite, Lutheran, which is what we were. And it was probably the Depression. And I'm sure her parents said, "You are absolutely not getting a pony. We have horses on the farm, but they are work horses." So she wanted a pony her entire life. Fast forward to the 1940s, my dad is like 10 years old, and she's like, "I'm going to get him a pony." If you knew my dad, you would know that the last thing in the world he wanted was a pony. He liked cars and trucks and race cars and NASCAR and art collecting, and was a car dealer. So he was not into the ponies, but it was a great excuse for my grandmother to get the pony she always wanted. And one pony turned into two ponies, which turned into four, and that turned into 16. And by the 60s, they had about 200 ponies.
Oh, wow.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. And they would have production sales at the barn in our backyard with like a tent and an auctioneer. And I have great old photos of them, standing with ponies that were, the 50s and 60s. Shetland ponies were selling for like $30,000, $40,000, and $50,000. I have a painting of their herd sire, not this one. This is a velvet painting of a saddlebred, which who knew? I literally have a painting of their herd sire from the I think early 60s that they bought from Terry McKenzie Diamond Pony Farm in Ohio for like a lot of money. And I have the ad from like the Pony Journal from back then. And it was a very cool way to grow up. But when you grow up with a million ponies in your backyard, and you get to go to saddlebred horse shows like Devon or Quentin Riding Club, all these more regional ones that to me were like Louisville.
Yep.
I would see kids riding saddlebreds, and I was like, "Wait a minute, I don't just want this pony. Can I get one of those?" And of course, my grandparents were like, "Absolutely not. The shoeing is a fortune. We don't know how to train them. You have to send it to somebody." And just all those things that you would kind of hear about saddle horses, especially back then when people were a little bit more hands-on.
Yep.
But I did not let that deter me. And I saved like birthday money and Christmas money and whatever. And I bought my first saddlebred. I think I was like 14. He was $1,500. And my grandparents had a secondary farm that they were selling where they had some of the ponies, and they actually sold it to a man named Gail Person. And in the Allentown, Pennsylvania area, Person Stables was famous. And it was like one of the last of those in-town riding stables where a million people got introduced to horses. A lot of people in the saddle horse business from this region started out there. They bought one of my grandparents' farms. So I had an in. I knew there was a local saddle horse place, so I started taking lessons there, and then I bought my $1,500 horse. It came from Brent Jacobs. His name was Daddy's Money, which everybody thought was hysterical. And I was like, actually, no, this is not Daddy's money. This is Daddy's money.
Yeah, yeah.
And he was not very good, but he knew how to bow, and that was a big hit at horse shows. And because we were horse people and we knew what we were doing, we would like bring him to our house to bathe him before we took him to the local horse show. And of course, he would rip the rope getting off the trailer, and he'd be running around our backyard in suburban Allentown. So it was that kind of start. It was not fancy. And we just winged it. And that's how everybody did it. It was like a boarding stable, but we went to horse shows and everybody groomed their horse and trained their horse. And again, we had no idea what we were doing. And they were fresh from Tattersalls. And we didn't know that, sometimes naughty horses went to the auction and you would get them home and be like, oh, he's really different than he was down there. So that was my inauspicious beginning. And there were many great people around here. It was a saddle horse hotspot, I think. We had great horses in Pennsylvania. We had Greystone Farms and Chief of Greystone, and lots of places to ride and get exposed to saddle seat riding. So I was very lucky in that way. And after years of almost dying doing it ourselves, I think when I was like 16 or something, we're like, we better find a horse trainer, and like a real one that trained your horse. And we moved our horses to Jimmy Orfanos, who
Okay.
was
Oh,
in your
okay, yeah.
area for a while.
Yep.
And I had horses with Jan Lukens and Jimmy, and then I had horses with Skip Schenker for about 30 years. So always very Northeast based. And when I was a kid, I mean, going to Devon or to the Quentin Riding Club or the Eastern States Exposition, that was like our Louisville. We didn't even know Louisville existed. Like, I had no idea. Like, I might have seen it in the magazines, I guess, but we had never heard of this thing. And certainly nobody that we knew was going to Louisville in the mid 1980s, probably like 1985. I think we went for the first time in 1991. And my sister had a fabulous park horse, but they didn't have a park division back then. So you had to take your park horse and show him pleasure and pray to the gods that they would walk. And they never did. And you'd be like, oh, well, it's Sunday. We'll be here for the whole week doing nothing.
Yeah.
And we just had those trials and tribulations, but it was a great way to start. I wouldn't trade it for the world. I really understand the horses and horse showing and show business. And one fun thing, when I was like 15 or 16, I had a 3-gaited horse. His name was I've Got It. He definitely did not. But he was lovely, but he had ears that were like satellite dishes. They were gigantic. Iron Horse Farm was really big back in, 85, 86, 87. And Randy and Danessa, who I have horses with now, were the trainers back then. And I was like, oh my God, could I please be rich one day and have horses at a place like that? Because I would go, they would send me in the in gate. And back then we had a 13, it was like, I think it was 14 and under 3-gaited and then 15 to 17, which is a weird way to divide it up. There would be 15 or 16 horses in the qualifier for that age group, like at the Quentin Riding Club or the Jersey Classic, like little, not gigantic horse shows by any means. They would lead me in the ring, whichever trainer, it might have been Jimmy or somebody. It was probably before that when we were doing it ourselves. And all the real trainers would be at the gate saying, stay away from the boy. Because when it was time to canter, my horse would always turn around. He would not canter. And then he would get really flustered. And before I knew it, I'd be facing the other direction, blocking the entire, there was just a 8-foot wide path of tan bark and the center was green, but I'd be blocking the whole thing. So I had a complex for a long time, but here I am. So that's how I got started.
That is awesome.
IASFA has always been more than 3 horse shows a year. We are a community united by life-changing moments, lifelong friendships, and the incredible horses who bring us together. What we enjoyed today exists because past members believed in sharing this passion at every level, in every division. and we proudly continue that legacy. We like to say we do all of this for our members, but we can't do it without them. And that means we can't do it without you. Please take a minute today to become a member by going to iaspha.com. And if you're already a member, consider becoming a sponsor or maybe even a media partner. Together, we can continue celebrating these amazing horses today and ensure our future holds strong tomorrow.
All right. So your experience at World Cup, when did you compete at World Cup, or were you an organizer at it?
Yeah.
Sorry, I apologize. I
No
don't remember.
worries.
being
You probably weren't born.
She does that to me a lot here. She's like, I'll be
No.
like, yeah. Back in 1981, she's like, yeah, I wasn't born.
I wasn't
Any more
born.
years.
I'm so young.
No.
But you're very likable, Gabby. So we're gonna let that slide.
Thank you. Thank you.
The year was 1999,
Okay.
and my friend Ann Judd was really one of the spearheads behind the whole South African, exchange kind of program with saddle seat riding. She had lived there for a little bit. So she organized an invitational team in 99. So you didn't have to qualify and do tryouts and go to William Woods and all that stuff. It was just kind of like, here's 5 good 5-gated riders and here's 5 good 3-gated riders. And it was Chris Reiser was our coach, and it was me and Chris Nally, Victoria Gillenwater, Tori Lewis Hefner, Janelle Chauvenac, and there was 5 and there was more that Ryan Stodd, trying to remember everybody, but 5, I think, 3-gated riders, 5 5-gated riders. I was a 5-gated rider, and we went to 3 horse shows in South Africa, Tulbach, Robertson, and maybe one other one. And it was a harrowing experience. Very fun, very character building. And the thing is, back then, and I don't want to get myself in international relations drama, but I believe that South Africa has to provide all the horses, which is wonderful and gracious, and they were so kind, and when they had beautiful barbecues for us and very, very welcoming, but perhaps they didn't give us the best horses. And maybe the better ones were like on the South African team. I'm just saying.
It's just allegedly.
Allegedly.
Give you the best
And I had a very big gated horse, which I was, very happy about. I had a fabulous one, I think, for some of the practices. His name was Rocket Man, and Martin Pinar was his trainer. And I still have pictures, and he was great, and I could ride the hair off of him. That is not who I wound up showing. I had this big horse, and when you asked him to canter, he would canter, but he would leap through the air for about 5 strides. So I literally remember, rail. I was yelling that a lot, and I was like leaping over like Victoria Gillenwater as my horse was cantering. And I lost a shoe once, and in South Africa, they don't allow you to put the shoe back on and continue.
Really?
But everything was, no, when you lose a shoe, you're done. You must leave. So I think I lost a shoe cantering at the speed of light, and it went flying in the air, and then I went to the middle, and then they're like, and I was like, I don't know what they're saying. I just put the shoe on, and they're like, and they're like, literally, like they just for a moment they go in English, you must leave. And I was like, okay. And then I got back to the people who very graciously lent me the horse, and I said, I'm so sorry. And they said, no, you did great. Normally he runs to the middle and lays down. And I was like, oh my God, I did super. So the moral of that story is, if you're having a bad go at a horse show and you think it's just going so awful and your ears are getting red and you're getting embarrassed and you're getting sweaty and you're like, please let it just be over. I want to line up. I want to leave early. You might be doing better than you think you are. So when they told me that normally he runs to the middle and lays down, I felt pretty good because we did like 4.5 gates each direction. So I was thrilled. So that was my World Cup experience, and it was great. And I highly recommend, if you can go to South Africa, it's so fun to see their horses and how they do it. And it feels very old fashioned. and they have a great time, and everybody's having a barbecue, and they give you champagne for your victory pass sometimes, and you
Oh,
ride out with your little champagne thing. Um, it's really fun, and and South Africa is gorgeous and stunning, and there's so many horse people that have beautiful places like in French Hook, which is like a French wine town. Because South Africa is pretty much a melting pot as well of like,
mm.
Dutch and French and German settlers, along with, of course, native people.
This stable minded episode is brought to you in part through the support of Sold by Sunday. Are you looking to buy, sell, or promote in the show horse world? Sold by Sunday is your one-stop digital destination for weekly online auctions featuring show horses, equine embryos, stud services, tack, buggies, trailers, and even equine art and collectibles. Or use Show Horse Blast to promote your horse's achievements through their powerful email and social media exposure. Whether you're selling, shopping, or celebrating, Sold by Sunday has got you covered. Go to showhorsesales.biz or search Sold by Sunday to get started today. So you're talking about some horses that maybe didn't make your favorites list, but can we talk about some of the ones that do make your favorites list?
Oh, yeah, I would love to. Yeah, I've been lucky. I've been showing saddlebreds since about 1985, and I don't really do math, but is that like 40 years? Something like
That was
that.
10
Yeah,
years
40
ago,
years.
just so that you know, it was only
Yeah,
10 years
sure.
ago.
So I've had a lot of horses. I like wrote a list one day and I was like, oh my God, I've had like 40 or 50 horses.
Wow.
Um, some of my favorites, I mean, some of them I didn't. My very, very favorite horse of all time was a bay 5-gated mare named Enchanting Memories.
Yeah,
She
yeah.
was by Desert Supreme Memories. I won the amateur 5-gated gentleman's class at Louisville with her. I won everywhere. And she was a mare. I bought her when she was 2. And she was the first horse I spent a lot of money on. And I was like, wait, I'm this 2? I think she was like a coming 2-year-old. So it was basically like riding around on a yearling. And I was like, oh, I don't know. This is a lot of money. But Johnny Jones had her. I love Johnny Jones. Trey Lee was working for him at the time. Uh, she was broke really nicely, and I could ride her when she was 2. It took, it's more my mental, like, phobias from the past, like, is she gonna canter? Is she gonna rack? Like, all those things, because I grew up having horses that didn't like to do certain gaits,
Yeah.
so you bring your own mental baggage where I'm like, "Oh, and she was great. I was the one that needed, to learn, but we did really well. I think the first time I showed her was River Ridge, and we won right away, and I showed her for, like, 3 or 4 years. She unfortunately, like all of the good ones, got sick at Louisville one year and had a giant calcification tumor in her colon that was the size of a basketball,
Oh my gosh.
which I guess just happens, like, they can eat, like, a piece of, like, a stone or,
Mhm.
like, swallow, like, a little piece of a nail or something, and then
Yep.
it calcifies around that for their entire lifetime. And, just one day, she was just, like, colicky, went to the clinic, and then died, like, in the recovery room,
Oh no.
sadly, and
No.
I
Sorry.
cried for 2 weeks, but
Hard to
she was a
lose.
great one. I know, but
It's
I've had
always the
some
good
others.
ones.
It's
Ah,
always,
it's always.
always, but I've had some other great ones that I've adored. I bought Fight Night for my niece, but then I kind of wound up liking him so much. I was like, I think he suits me better. We just buried him here on the farm. We
Oh,
usually keep
really?
everything. And he was a terror, but I could ride him in the snow. I could ride him bareback as long as he didn't have a bridle on. He was tenable. Um, but he was a great one. Some of them I haven't even shown myself. I just, owned, but like Rose Lane's Angelo, who won the gated gelding stake at
Yep.
Louisville,
Mm.
Sir Silver Knight, who won the 3-gated World's Grand Championship. I showed him a little bit in fine harness. I think I was second in the gentleman's class at Louisville. I raised a world champion named Cardigan Conundrum, who's owned by Susan Swope, who won the Western class at Louisville. Um, my niece had some great horses that I actually owned, named Harrison Ford, who I adored.
Oh,
He
he
was
was
Mhm.
so
the most wonderful horse, and I chalk that up to Supreme Air breeding and Don Harris training, and he was just worth his weight in gold. We loved him so much. Meritage signed, sealed, and delivered. Was a pleasure horse I bought from Mike Roberts for my niece, and Mike Richardson trained him for my niece, Morgan Billig. Only horse to, I believe, to win 2 classes at Louisville in the same day. That mare won an equitation class in the morning and won the show pleasure class in the afternoon.
Oh.
So that's
That's
pretty
cool.
cool. And had some like nice road ponies, Melrose Place, one at Louisville. Snickers I had. He won the 3-year-old Pleasure Futurity. So I've had a lot of good ones over the years. I just I don't have them all at once, and I don't have them that often. So sometimes people forget, and I'm fortunate that I was able to sell some of them that they went on. Fortunate and not fortunate. It's nice to do the winning yourself, but I
Yep.
also love selling one. And when they are successful for the person you've sold them to, it does make you feel good, especially if you're the breeder.
Yeah. Wow. So kind of, it sounds like you grew up in the Hackney pony, like into Hackney ponies.
Yeah.
But now, I mean, I've seen you show your pony. How, like, talk about going from maybe riding to now
Yeah.
showing more of the Hackney ponies and driving them.
Oh, I'm very old now, Gabby. That just, I never imagined, like, they always say, like, you turn into your parents or like, but how do I have a Hackney? That was, I never wanted one growing up because we had them all around, and they didn't seem cool. And then Melissa had this pony Uplifting. He just looked so old fashioned in the best possible way. And he's so beautiful and so classic. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to get a cobtail pony. It's like an homage to my grandparents. They're such beautiful animals. And I just really liked him. Melissa is so wonderful and she's a great friend. And I think she let me like go visit him in his stall. And that was like the worst thing in the world I could have done, because then I was like, oh my God, he's so cute. I have to have him. I am also not the type of person that goes to my horse trainer and says, I would like a black 3-gated horse. I just know it's not that easy to like put in an order, as they used to say back in the old days. So if something strikes my fancy and it looks like maybe I can do well with it and it's not an absolute fortune, I'm also not the person saying, is it $1 million? I'll take it. Because I like to buy cars and houses and have money left over. And I'm on cable, so I'm not, William Shatner. So yeah, that's kind of how I select my horses. It's very much serendipity. And when the right one comes along, they kind of find you. As cliche and as greeting card as that sounds, that's usually the way it works best.
I love talking to people about their volunteer work, especially with the horse
Right.
organizations. And you spent some time at ASHBA.
I actually, okay, this is in the a good story, I guess. I grew up showing horses. I loved doing it. I thought, how am I going to make enough money to actually be able to do this myself? And I had great parents that, while they didn't buy me expensive horses, they did pay for board and training, which, like, when you're in high school, that's huge. So I went to college, went to Gettysburg College in Pennsylvania, loved it. And I knew I wanted to move to New York City, which is, it's 99 miles from our farm in Pennsylvania, actually. So it's not that far away, but it's a world away. And I had a friend who grew up riding at Jan Lucan's. Her name is Lori Drews, and she was working for the American Horse Shows Association.
Okay.
And Gabby, that's what USEF used to be called back in the old days.
Okay.
And their offices, strangely enough, in this day and age, you'd be like, are you insane? But their offices were in New York City, in Manhattan, on East 42nd Street, 220 East 42nd Street. It is the Daily News building. And they've used it in all the Superman movies as the home base for the Daily Planet. It's owned by Rupert Murdoch. It's a beautiful building. American Horse Shows Association had their headquarters there before they became USEF, before they moved to the Kentucky Horse Park. And it was very old-fashioned. It was started by the Vanderbilts, and I think that's why it was always in and around New York City. And Lori Drews handled all the saddle horses and Morgans and national show horses, and she was going to have a baby. And it was when I was graduating from college, and she was like, you should come and take my job. And I was like, yes, nepotism, I will. And it was in New York City. It was 1991. And I remember I got paid $31,000 a year. And I thought, how am I going to spend all this money? I'm going to buy cute clothes. Then I looked at my first apartment. I was like, $811 for rent. And I shared it with two other girls, two girls that went to Gettysburg with me. I lived in the dining alcove and they took the one bedroom, and it was on 96th Street. So like cars were burning in the back, and in the front it looked normal. Uh, and that's how I got my start. And it was a great job. And I handled, all the USEF stuff, committee meetings and rule changes. And I got paid to go to Lexington and Louisville and, have meetings. But I would have like a meeting for like an hour, and they'd be like, horse show time. It was a great job. And I got to work with my heroes and legends. Picture it. I'm 21 years old in some bad Armani imposter, double-breasted suit, running like a committee meeting at the UPHA convention in Louisville, Kentucky at the Galt House. And I think it was like a judge's clinic that I had to run. And one of the panelists was Tom Moore. Okay, so a legendary figure, very intimidating, the nicest man in the world. But if you weren't friends with him or had never talked to him, if you were a 21-year-old kid from Pennsylvania who idolized this guy, you would be like, oh my God. And it was time for the clinic to start. And Tom Moore was not there. And I was like, oh my God, I have to call his hotel room. And I'm just like literally picking up like a courtesy phone. I was like, hello, Mr. Moore, would you mind coming down right now? We're going to start that clinic. I mean, I was terrified. He was like, I'll be right down, son. And he was so nice and wonderful. And I got to work with Red Crabtree, and just, Sally Wheeler, and the most amazing legendary legends of our business. And I was, taking notes and doing the minutes and being the administrator. But they were all so kind and amazing. Like Sally Wheeler, like I got the Sally Wheeler like UPHA award for like sportsmanship. And I was just like, I'm just so honored to be like mentioned in the same breath with this woman who was the kindest, most wonderful, classy, incredible lady. So that was a great introduction to, the very, I guess, elite side of the sport, working with all these incredible people. When I worked for American Horse Shows. And then after about like 3 or 4 years, I was like, I would really love a job where I could afford to buy shoes and food. So I looked for a profit sector job. My horse background and just serendipity, I got a job at Ralph Lauren. And I think it was because I was a horse person and I could really, I knew the culture. Got a great job there and did that for like 7 years before I did television. So you never know. I always say like opportunities, when opportunity knocks, get the door. I saw that on a poster with Blake Shelton. And you never know where that opportunity is going to take you. And it might not take you to your dream, but it is one step that might take you to the next step that takes you to your dream. So that's happened many times to me in Hollywood and showbiz, but also just in life in general.
This episode is brought to you in part through the generous support of the Monarch Show Series National Championship. It's their efforts to build a better, stronger, and more inclusive horse show industry that makes projects like this podcast possible. Make sure to join us for this year's show in September at the historic Illinois State Fairgrounds in Springfield, Illinois. For more information, go to monarchshowseries.com. Monarch, there's a place for everyone in the kingdom.
Now your Rose Bowl parade experience.
Yeah.
My mom we were religious about watching the Rose Bowl every year on New Year's Day.
Yes.
And you, in the scripts near my ranch, spotted saddlebreds would come out. My mom was like, that's Carson Kressley. He's on TV, but he rides saddlebreds too. And it was really cool to see you on TV and riding these saddlebreds. So kind of that experience, and like, what do you hope that brings to our saddlebred community, or what it does bring to our saddlebred community?
I'm a big believer that this is like a fashion metaphor, but like you don't know you want something until you see it in the window at the store. And like, take me to an outlet mall and I'm like, I don't need anything. And I'm like, wait, Louboutins 50% off? I need that. So you don't know that you want something until you see it. So exposure and visibility is everything. And while we love our horse shows, and I do too, I love the romance. I love the old fashionedness of it. I like the organ music. Like, I don't want a DJ, I want it classic. But we have to remember that people are not coming to horse shows. They are not the entertainment that they were in the 1950s when Lemon Drop Kid was on the cover of Sports Illustrated. Like, that ship has sailed. But we have to always think about, where are people going to see our breed in the window? And it's at things like the Devon Horse Show where we get thousands of people. It's on social media, which, we all love and hate, but it's important. And it's things like the Rose Parade. I mean, that parade is seen by, I think, 17 million people all over the world. And it has a chyron that says, like, Scripps Saddlebreds. So people are like, oh, what's a saddlebred? Let me Google that on my phone. So when they see it, you cannot help but be impressed by our breed. And 10,000 million thanks and kudos to Michelle McFarlane for orchestrating all of it. It's a huge endeavor. You have to apply like the year before. You have to have a reason why you should be there. You have to work with the theme. You have to get everybody approved. You have to sign your life away in waivers. So it is a gigantic undertaking. She does such a beautiful job with it. I get the greatest, nicest horse to ride. Um, I'm just like, oh my God, ears up, head up. We're parade gating down, Orange Boulevard. The cameras, literally, smoke is coming out of a fire breathing dragon float in front of us that's going up and down. There's a band behind us playing the Wisconsin fight song. And we're just, doing our thing. And it is not easy. Oh, here's a fun fact. They say if you have a problem with your horse and it's getting dangerous or untenable, you can take any left along the parade route, and there'll be a trailer at every intersection, and someone from Cal Poly Pomona will help you load your horse in the trailer and take you back to the staging area. And I was like, that is never happening. I'm never getting off this horse. I'm never attempting to unload it. I'm never attempting to take this 500-pound saddle off of it. I will die in the street before I veer off by myself in Pasadena, California to find a stranger with a trailer that I'm going to load not my horse onto. So knock on wood, I always have a fabulous horse. There's no issues. It's a tremendous promotional opportunity, and thousands of people just on the parade route. I mean, there's several 100,000 people lining the streets. They have bleachers. They have, it's like a football stadium that you ride through. Everybody says you can hear the crowd audibly gasp and say, oh my God, what kind of horse is that? I've never seen a horse that beautiful. So we have the most incredible breed and the most striking. We just have to make sure we're putting it in the window so people know that it exists and is for sale, and that you can interact with them and experience them and have them be part of your life. So it's incredibly valuable, and Michelle gets all the credit, as she should, for orchestrating something really, really important. And mind you, she's done everything in the world that you can do. She's driven a stagecoach at the Nagano Olympic Games. She's won the 5-gated stake as an amateur. She's won everything you can win with the most phenomenal horses. And she's a great, great lady. And it's just, I don't think people know enough how important that parade is.
Do you, kind of building on that, you have been a great ambassador to the breed. And at least as somebody outside looking in, you really look like you take every opportunity that is maybe given to you to talk about and share your love of these horses and what it brings to your life. Can you talk about what drives that for you, and why you think that's important?
Yeah, it's an absolute passion that drives it. I don't even think about it that much. It's just such a big part of my life. It's something, I'm like a televangelist, I want to talk about the things that I love and that I'm into. And it might be Oscars fashion, and it might be interior design, but it might be a makeover show or reality TV or drag race, but it's also saddlebred horses. I have a big platform. I'm so lucky. And if we wanted to book a 20-minute segment on, the Today Show all about saddlebreds, it would be okay, that'll be $100,000. and I get to sneak it in for free. And they, you know, the talk shows and everybody loves it. It's something so different. Um, Years ago, Nate Berkus had a talk show, and I actually rode a saddlebred onto the set.
I remember
And
that.
he rode
Oh.
one as well. And Neela McCracken was so great, and she brought beautiful horses for us. And as we're clippity clomping onto the stage, I was like, is this solid? I was envisioning ankles going through like the bottom of the stage, but the horses were perfect. They looked beautiful. Nate rode one as well, which is always, you're horse people. So like when a non-horse person like goes to ride, like I can't even go riding like in Mexico because I can't stand the terror of looking at my friends. I'm just like, you're gonna back off a cliff. I'm too aware. I'm just like, no, don't let him. No, you're gonna drown. Like they can't really swim with you on them. So that gives me anxiety.
Mhm.
But most of the time I love doing it. And I have this great platform, like I said, and I'm going to, tell people how great they are. I think exposure, that's our number one problem with our breed. We have the most fantastic product in the world. Like this might be controversial, but every saddle seat breed wants to be like us. They want to be athletic and showy and gorgeous and have long necks and all the things. I'm just like, then just get one of these. Hello. Um, but it is great promotion to just get them seen because when people see them, I think if you like horses, you're compelled, you want that. And we all discovered saddlebreds in different ways, whether it's the local riding stable. Um, we don't normally choose a breed. We just like horses. And if you have a saddlebred barn in your backyard, like I did, it was just like, oh, it's going to be saddlebreds. So anytime we can get out in front of an audience, it's really, really important because our opportunities are limited. And our horse shows have turned into more like tournaments. Like it's us showing in front of us. So we need to be really, which is why I'm, beating the Devon drum all the time and saying, listen, we're going to lose a huge opportunity here, like we did at Madison Square Garden and the Penn National and so many places because yes, it's inconvenient. Yes, it's expensive. And yes, it's not just for us and it's not, tailored for saddle horses, but it's so important because it's yet another window for us to put our breed into and say, "Oh, look what we have. We have the best product ever."
And kind of following up on that, our group at IASVA has been really spending some time thinking about like as an industry and even like in our region up here in the Chicagoland and Milwaukee area, we're really good at advertising into ourselves and telling people within our industry like what we're doing well or what's coming up and so
Mhm.
on. But we've spent the better part of last year really looking at what would it look like if we turn that around 180 degrees and start trying to do a better job talking to the people that don't know what a saddlebred is and don't know what amazing things that it brings into your life. And as somebody who I feel like has been in the trenches and has spent some time thinking about this, and then actually you've been boots on the ground, you're out there doing it. What kind of things could we be taking on to better promote our breed to the general public?
Right. Okay, that is like the biggest, most important question in the world. Um, I do think you're absolutely right. Like our marketing is inward facing and we're, telling ourselves how great our horses are. We know that. Um, and that's why a lot of people who start doing this do it for forever. Like I've been doing it for 40 years. It becomes a family, it becomes a legacy sport that, our kids and grandkids do. Um, and again, I think it's just about putting that spotlight on the breed and exposure, exposure, exposure. And whether that's, I mean, I love this podcast. I told you before we started, I think it's so great. It is my on the way to the horse shows in the car, listening must have. So I think anything digital, I mean, we have to remember that, we're not getting audiences at our horse shows. Unless it's a Devon or a Del Mar or something where there's a large, like local crowd that comes because it's an event. Social media, is a great window. Influencers, um, just anybody who can get that image out there. And like I've said a million times, if you see our breed and you interact with our breed, you're probably going to be hooked because, they are so fantastic. So I do think the UPHA is doing something called like Ride for Free.
Okay.
And I think that might be an initiative where like it's an index of places where you can learn to ride a saddlebred. So if we could somehow hook up with social media to get our horses exposed in a beautiful way and then have a follow-up link to say, okay, you saw this video, you're intrigued by this horse. You see this little 10-year-old riding around on this majestic creature. If your kid is interested in this, you click on this link and we'll connect you to a barn in your region. um, we need to, make that connection from discovery to pulling the trigger to committing to like one-on-one interaction. I sound like some weird marketer who's like, what we need to do is engage and
Yep.
then activate. Yeah, I think it is engaging and activating and getting them in the door. One of the challenges that I don't have the answer to, and that's a problem industry-wide, in the horse industry in general, is that, when I was growing up in the 70s, Philadelphia, New York, metropolitan New Jersey, there were 5 or 10 places where you could go ride a horse, have a show horse, go to beautiful horse shows. And I'm sure it was the same in the Chicago area. And now real estate is so expensive that everything is hours out of town, and the average like mom who's taking one kid to ballet and one kid to soccer is not going to drive 2 hours from New York City to Ravenna, New York, to go take riding lessons with a Jan Lukens or something. So we've lost all of those places that are, we have no places to ride, or very few, in and around, Nashville, Dallas, New York, Chicago, Miami, all these places where people have lots of money. And let's not kid ourselves, we're a luxury hobby slash entertainment. It's not
Yep.
cheap. We need to be in those places, Greenwich, Connecticut, where your audience is, and that's a huge challenge. Um, there's literally like a family that is, trying to start up a barn. I think in Wilmington, North Carolina, there was Canterbury Stables. Well, it's now like a wedding venue. So every time we lose these, regional places that get people started,
Yep.
that's critical. The Coloramas and all of the very elite places, they're always going to be there because that, system flows up. None of us started there. I
Yeah.
started out in, do it yourself. And we have to make sure that we, once we get people excited about the breed, that they can interact with the breed and they have a place to actually do what we do, which is ride around. So I don't know what the answer is, but we have a fabulous product. We do have tools now. And everybody, some people are very averse to social media, but it can be that department store window that we need to put a spotlight on what we do so more people understand it.
Sounds like to promote the lesson programs. That's the
I'm a
yeah.
huge fan of that. That
Yep.
is the lifeblood of everything
Mhm.
that we do. And yes, it's nice to sell really expensive
Mhm.
horses, and they're the beautiful and exciting, but we need lesson programs in
Mhm.
every metropolitan area if we think we're going to keep going.
Absolutely.
And we also, the other side of that coin is we need breeders, which is my
Yes.
other
Mhm.
my other soapbox is like, when big giant places of days of yore, like Callaway Hills, which thankfully has been rebranded and rebuilt, um, but we keep losing them. Blythewood Farms, they're going to have a dispersal. And you can't expect these people to be, in their later years in life and still, breeding the majority of the horses. Everybody at this point, it is a dire situation. I don't want to be like a negative Nancy, but if you can breed a horse or two and you have a show horse, that's what I do. I have one or two that were show horses, which I think make the best breeding horses anyway. It's all hands on deck at this point because we can have all the promotion, all the lesson programs. If we don't have the product, in that third silo, then we're going to be in big trouble. So we need our breeders. We should support
Mhm.
our breeders. And they really, having bred about 20 of my own, I know the success rate is quite low. The expense is quite high. It has to be a labor of love, but we need to get as many people doing it as possible. So if you're thinking about it and you're listening to me, go ahead and do it. It's gonna be so fun.
It is breeding season is upon us.
Yep.
No time like the present.
Mhm.
Yes.
All right. So kind of to like, how do you how do you do everything that you do with horses? Like you live in New York, LA, you do all of these talk shows, you do
Yes.
so many shows. How are you doing this? Like
I I I do it all poorly. That is my secret.
no.
I do lots of things and none of them well. No, I'm okay. Um, I try to have a balance. I mean, the good thing about horses is that they are the perfect yin to your work yang. So like when I'm flying around on airplanes and that's where I spend most of my life. And I'm going to do a talk show, I'm going to do a project, or I'm going to do a Food Network show. Um, I love it, and it's the best job in the world. I'm so happy I found this industry, and we have great people, and I enjoy it. The flip side is when I have any free time, it's going to be here at the farm in Pennsylvania, or at a horse show, or in Kentucky. I'm visiting, whatever stock I have down there. So it's a great balance because when I'm not working, I like to be, with the horses. So it's those two things, and I try to keep as much of a balance. And when I'm here at the farm, like I literally, um, this morning I went down and I cleaned like 6 stalls. Um, and there's a lot of eye rolling that happens. So like, oh, you're here for your 1 day a month. Um, but it's very therapeutic. And I do love when you work in a business where you almost never see the finished product, like if it's a movie or a TV show or like the red carpet at the Oscars, it's over in a blip. And I'm just like, oh, I never saw that. Did it turn out okay? Um, I love oh, the stall is dirty and now I've been in here for 15 minutes and now it's like immaculate. That is very gratifying to me. I feel the same way about laundry. I could do laundry all day and some people hate it, but to me, it's like I've actually done something with my life today. Um, so I try to balance it. I don't get to practice very much. I did buy a new gaited horse, I think 2 years ago. And I was like, I don't need to practice. I've been doing this my entire life. That did not work in this particular instance. And every horse show got worse. And I was like, okay, we're going to have to switch gears here. And sometimes you have to make adjustments. Um, and I don't do as well. You have to prepare, know your horse inside and out, have time. Like I'm also the person that is like the fashion guru, and I'll be the person who's so flustered, I will show up at the horse show with no jod boots. And I'll be like, I literally showed a horse once in loafers that I'd like put the underpasses under because I was like, I don't have my boots. Like it's always something really stupid. Or like I'll forget my hat and then I'm wearing like a big giant hat that's like going to blow off. So I have it taped to my head and then the wind blows it off and it flips down in front of my face while I'm cantering in the rain at Devon. So it's not as good as it should be because I'm in too many places, but my job is what allows me to do the horses. So they kind of have to take a back seat. And then I have to just get it when I can get it. And I have a couple horses that I raised. I have one that's just the most fabulous horse. I could put anybody on him. He has zero gumption. Like, I can't even believe he's a saddlebred. I've never had a horse that is as ungame as this horse. He would stand still if he could for his entire life. And but he's great. I'll ride him around the farm. He snorts at everything, but he doesn't do anything stupid. I can put anybody on him and he's a delight. So just being around horses is a great reset mentally for all of the stress and airports and the pressure of showbiz, which, it's a fun job, but it's also a very stressful job because you don't know if you have a job. And, the landscape is always changing and but I'm highly blessed and highly grateful. And I'm just, thank you, Jesus. I get it.
I love that. The horses are like you're out, but it's a decompressed moment. And like you said, therapeutic. I think that's for a lot of people. And it's such a great thing.
You have to be so mindful. And I think we have so many things distracting us from social media to what's on the television, to our families, to coworkers, that to have a moment where you can just be looking through those ears and possibly trying not to die is very focusing.
Yes.
And you can't think about anything else. And I think just that is, and I'm not, I am no Deepak Chopra, but I think that moment where you can't think about anything else other than paying attention to your horse is very, very healing, because it gives your mind and the channels in your brain a moment to like reset, because you're not thinking about 80 million things. You're thinking about one thing, which I love.
This episode would not be possible without the support of the Aschenbrenner family's Dreammakers LLC and their ongoing commitment to breeding and showing of American saddlebred horses. Their belief in equine versatility and public service, whether it be at the local grassroots, regional horse show, or the National Association level, strives to create an equine community with room for every horse and all riders. To learn more, go to dreammakers-llc.com or search Dreammakers LLC on Facebook. Dreammakers, where dreams are born.
So now to kind of, finish out our main questions. We talked about the equestrian style and how it's really popular right now. I mean, you see like Bella Hadid, she's riding her cutting horse in downtown New York City, and people are like, it's just, so can you talk about that, of like how as an equestrian community can we keep up with this popularity of the equestrian style?
Right. Well, I think it's a huge opportunity, and we should milk it for everything it's worth, and get your horses on social media and do slow-mo videos trotting, and be mindful that it's not something crazy that people aren't going to understand. But let's ride this wave. And I love when people are like, and it's really TikTok and all these things that make it popular again. They're like, it's time for a Ralph Lauren Christmas. I'm like, I've been doing a Ralph Lauren Christmas since 1986. Okay, this is not new, but thank you, 22-year-old influencer, because I will take it and I will video my own house and ride that wave. And I think the same with equestrian fashion. People are like, oh my gosh, they rode horses in the Hermes show. And I was like, Grace Kelly rode a horse in the Hermes show in like 1957. This is not new, but I love that people are rediscovering it. I think we can leverage that. I think equestrian style resonates because, it's the Ralph Lauren aesthetic. It's tasteful, it's chic, it has gravitas and a history and a heritage, and it's always in perfect taste. So I get why people are responding to it again, and that's wonderful. The same thing in interiors, that Ralph Lauren look of like, saddle leather and brass, and tartans and plaids. Like that's, for me, has never gone away. It's never really been a trend, but it is trending right now. I'm going to do my shameless plug because I'm doing a collection for Ballard Designs with 32 stores nationwide and also at ballarddesigns.com. And they approached me, and I'd been working with them on other projects, other collaborations, about doing an equestrian-inspired, home collection. And I said, I've lived my whole life for this. I have it all already. Come over and we'll load it in a truck and you can reproduce it. And literally the CEO said, well, we should come to your farm and see what it looks like. And she was like, how does February sound? I said, that sounds muddy and ugly. I do not want anybody coming to the farm in February, but alas, they came in February. And I don't think I even took them to the barn because it was a mud pit last year. It is a snow tundra this year. And they did the little tour and loved my style, which again was not anything earth-shattering. It's just an equestrian theme park. And but I'm very happy. Again, riding the wave. Let's get this in the stores. We did a fabulous promotional video with saddlebred horses at Maracay Farm because they shoot everything in North Carolina for Ballard at a big warehouse. Amy Stinnett and Andrea Harry were so gracious, and their teams. And I rode a 3-year-old pleasure horse out of Voulez-Vous in all of the ads, so you can look for him. His name is Oui S'il Vous Plaît. And I'm sneaking the saddle horses in any place I can. I was like, we should have some real horses in the commercial. And they're like, do you know a place? And I said, I will find one. And that's what's great about our business too. I think everyone's on the same page, and anytime you have an opportunity to promote, most people are like, "Oh my God, yes, what can I do?" Should we talk about show ring style? Because
Oh,
we didn't have that on my notes, but I would love to talk about like what we see in the horse show
Yeah.
arena.
yeah.
Well, here's my thing. What we do is so intensely traditional. There is no reason to do what we do if not for romance and tradition. Okay. Riding around on some high stepping beauty with a fluffy tail and a long coat and a top hat. Like it is all about tradition. And it's one of the reasons why I love our horses. I love showing them because of that, romantic, nostalgic, dramatic. I mean, it's all those things. Um, and I think we should really honor tradition and heritage and authenticity when we're in the show ring. So sometimes I will do a pearl clutch when I see maybe like a 13-year-old girl on a country pleasure horse in an entirely brocade outfit with a shiny silk shirt and a matching silk tie. That's not what pleasure is about. Pleasure, the heritage and the roots, is about I have this showy horse that I'd be riding down a country road and he needs to be flat shod basically so I could, stop and tie him up. I know that's not what we do, but that's the raison d'etre and that's the reason behind it. So I think for pleasure horses and country pleasure horses especially, you should wear natty things and tartans and paisley ties, and things shouldn't be shiny and they shouldn't be silk. That is for the most elegant of elegant, which is the three-gated horse, or perhaps maybe even the park horse, although I find the park horse should be also more sporty and more traditional in the attire. So save those brocades and silks and shiny things for three-gated after 6 p.m. They look gorgeous. There's a total place for them. And then if you're showing a 5-gated horse, and I know we've all gotten into like the uniform now, which is like a black suit that has a little bit of a lustrous silk sheen and a white shirt and a white tie. And that looks lovely. It's a little boring, I am going to say. So I don't think we all need to look like professional horse trainers, as an amateur. Even for a gated horse, I love, something that's like a Glen plaid or a soft plaid and a plaid vest and a gingham shirt. The 5-gated horse is the sporty spice of our breed. They were meant to, rack around your farm and see all your land and check out, your vast real estate holdings. So you should, it's more of a daytime look. We don't wear top hats with them. So again, we shouldn't be wearing our shiny, brocades and silks. We should be wearing worsted wools and, they can have a little bit of luster, but that should be more of a sportsman's look. Um, and the fancy stuff should be kept for 3-gated horses, which is, is it appropriate for the division? That is the most important thing for street fashion, for interior design, or for horse showing. Does it make sense in the context of what you're doing or where your house is or where you're going to dinner or the type of horse that you're showing? It's all the same. It's about, do you look right for the job at hand? That's my soapbox.
And if anybody should be on it, it is you. And now the final 5. Our favorite 5 questions for our favorite stable-minded people. If you were not into show horses, what would you be doing?
Oh, gosh. I just love the combination of like a beautiful animal and a little bit of razzle dazzle showbiz and getting dressed up. So I don't think I could not do this, but I would say I would show dogs, which I know is a little weird and the shoes are horrific. Even at Westminster, I was like, my God, can we get a Chanel flat up in here? Because they wear really fancy outfits and then you look down past the ankle and the pantyhose and I'm just like, what is happening here? I know you have to run, but we can get a man on the moon. We can figure out a shoe that you can run in that does not look like, a pair of Skechers.
Ugh.
But I would show dogs. I think they're so beautiful. And I would have like, Dobermans or giant schnauzers or boxers, something that looks like a saddlebred. Like the dog that just won Westminster had the most beautiful neck and throat latch. And he was kind of like, had a double hinge at the pole. And immediately there was like 100 of them in there. I was like, this one's the winner. Hello. And usually I do that with everything, like horse races. I look for the one that looks like a saddlebred, or at the standard bred track, I'm like, ooh, which one looks showiest? Those never win.
Yeah.
Never. The ones that win are always the ones I'm like, I think it's going to fall over. It looks so like weak behind, and then they wind up winning. So I don't know about racehorses, but I would show dogs.
Uh, to some degree, we all have a horse addiction. What do you think is at the root of yours?
Oh gosh, I'm sure there's some deep-seated psychological issues of like, I don't feel worthy. Let's see, what is it? I love the beauty of our breed. I think they're so striking. So I think that whole package of like the tail up over their back and a beautiful, red brow band and a big bug eye. Like I'm thinking of Bert Honecker's Gaited Horse Henry. Like that's
Mhm.
like, how could you not be captivated by a creature like that? So I'm a lover of beauty. I feel the same way about Marcus Schenkenberg and the male supermodels of the 90s. So I think it's a beauty addiction.
Good. Big picture, what do you think is the greatest gift that your involvement in horses has given you?
Oh, well, I think I would probably like be in some kind of rehab program or something if I didn't have horses. Like I'm too like high strung and all over the place. I would have looked for something to like calm me down. And I think having this constant in your life, especially when you work in something as tumultuous as showbiz or live in New York City or Los Angeles, I think having that constant, steady family, community, and that bond, it's something you always have. You can always go back to it. I could call anybody in California that's in the show business, horse show business, or Chicago. Like you have friends and family everywhere. So that aspect of community, I think, is a huge gift. And then also um, just the continuity within my own family. My grandparents did it. My sister did it with me. My niece is now in the horse business. That keeps families connected, but it's also a great history. And I love history. And I'm always saddened when I hear people say, well, I didn't really know my grandparents and I didn't know anything about them or what they did. I have this common thread that I so cherish. And I think that continuity is something very, very special.
What is the biggest risk you've taken, and how did it pay off?
The biggest risk, I would say taking advantage of opportunities. And it's not always the safest path. Like before I did Queer Eye for the Straight Guy, which was 23 years ago, I had a fabulous job at Ralph Lauren. And I started out being like Jerry Lauren, Ralph's brother's assistant. And I would ride around in a town car and I would pick up sardine sandwiches and dry cleaning. And I was basically Andrea in The Devil Wears Prada, except everyone was nice and preppy. And I parlayed that into like, I was good. So then, Jerry was like, what do you want to do? And I was like, I want to, design clothes. So I got to do that. And then I got to work in advertising, which is the creme de la creme at Ralph Lauren, because we would go to like the Isle of Wight and we would spend the winter in like, the Bahamas shooting Father's Day campaigns. And it was wonderful. And I got 30% off of all of the clothes. And but that's when Queer Eye for the Straight Guy happened. And, out of the blue, serendipitously, one of my producers that booked our photo shoot said, I heard about this show, you should try out. So I took a risk and I said, why not? And we didn't even have the internet then. We had Ask Jeeves. I don't know if you remember Ask
Yep.
Jeeves.
I remember.
Gabby knows about Ask
Yep.
Jeeves. You were a child when it came out. And I like found out like where they were doing the audition, and I went and I didn't have a headshot. I just had a picture of me holding some cashmere sweaters from a location shoot. And it went really well. We made a pilot and I thought nothing would ever happen. And that was in 2002. And then in 2003, they literally called back and said, we're going to go to series. Bravo has been purchased by NBC. They want to make this like the cornerstone of the new Bravo network. Like, you need to quit your job. And I was like, quit my job? Do you even have dental insurance? Which they don't. It's a freelance thing. And it was like $2,500 an episode times 8. And I was like, I don't think that's enough money to live on. But I had a fabulous boss. Her name is Liz Paley. And she said, you know what? If it doesn't work, you should do it. This is perfect for you. If it doesn't work out, we'll hire you back. So I did take that risk where it was just like, give up this really great job where I was making good money and had a great life in New York City for this gamble but I was, in my early 30s. I had no bills. I didn't have a family. I didn't have like a new baby or something. I had a horse. I've always had a horse, even through college and the lean years in New York City. Thank you to my parents for paying the bills at some point during those times. But that was the biggest risk I ever took, was like quitting a great job for something extremely unknown. The greater the risk, the greater the reward, and it really worked out. And that's also the reason why I've been able to have nice horses and be able to do this for 40 years. And so yeah, that was the big risk.
Yeah.
Wow. And lastly, what is something that you're currently excited about?
Oh, well, a couple things. I mean, we're in the midst of winter now. It's February 10th today, of 2026. And breeding season is always exciting. And no one is more hopeful than the breeder. I mean, you do it year and year and in and out. And oftentimes it doesn't work out. And you have to be creative and think, oh, I'm going to give this one away, or it's going to be a lesson horse, or I'm going to ride around the farm, or whatever, not to dissuade anybody. But I think this is a time of great hope, and we always get very excited about what the future holds for breeding. So there's that. Um, this is also the time of year when I'm just like, when is horse show season happening? And I know I should like be good and wait till like April or May, but it's just like, wait, there's a horse show in Florida in March. We could go do that. So I'm excited about that. And I'm also very excited about, like I talked about, my Ballard Designs equestrian collection. I think everybody's going to love it. We're having a party in Atlanta to kick it off on March 17th. So if you're a horse person in Atlanta, please do come. Send me a DM on the Instagram and I'll make sure you're on the list. And yeah, that's what I'm excited about.
Cool.
Oh.
Well, I want to thank you so much for taking the time out to do this. And we probably would not have been courageous enough to come and ask you. So you're so thankful that you reached out, and much appreciate your time. And
it's my pleasure. You guys do a great job. And I love the podcast. I'm just thrilled to be a part of it.
Thank you. Thank you.
A huge thank you to Carson Kressley for such a great conversation and plenty of laughs. We are so grateful for his passion, his perspective, and the joy he brings to the horse world and beyond. His support of the Stable Minded podcast and the show horse community means the world to us. Now put down your phone, pick up the reins, and we'll see you back here next time.